Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Theorist and welcome to episode 2 of the Retro Club. The only video on YouTube that's talking about stuff that isn't really relevant, but is something I really enjoy. If you watched episode 1, you know that at the moment we are covering the TV show of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In episode 1 we discussed the pilot, my thoughts, and also Easter eggs and references in it, which is what we do in this series. We are taking a show, we are breaking it down into segments, because talking about a whole show in one episode would be quite long. Then we talk about how we feel about it, and also any references and Easter eggs that are in these episodes. Sometimes might not be any, sometimes might be only a couple, sometimes might be lots, depending. But we'll see how we go. In episode 2, we will be covering episodes 2 through 6 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is The Harvest, The Witch, Teacher's Pet, Never Kill a Boy on a First Date, and The Pack. We will be talking about The Harvest the most, as it is the second half of the pilot. It doesn't feel completely like a part 2, it more feels like its own episode apart from the very beginning. That's what we'll be focused on mostly, and then we'll talk about the other 4, which are kind of fillers. Buffy's one of the shows that suffers from having a lot of filler episodes. So, let's begin. Alright then, so as we're talking about episode 2, The Harvest, we will explain kind of what happened in episode 1. In episode 1, we found out that Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she is a teenage girl who recently moved to Sunnydale, and she is attending a high school. There is a person there called Giles, who is a librarian that knows about her, and she has one or two people who have kind of found out who she is, and we know that she battles, well, obviously vampires, but also demons and other foes. And the episode ended with Buffy trapped in a crypt with a vampire looming over her. And that is exactly where episode 2 opens up. It opens up with the vampire Luke looming over her, about to bite her and end her life. Luckily, the cross, the mysterious angel gift to her, saves her. And she manages to kick the vampire away, race outside, where her friends who she tried to rescue, which is Willow and Xander, they are being attacked by vampires. She breaks a branch off a tree, stabs the vampire, ending his life, and saving the friends. She asks where Jesse is, the second boy that was part of the group, and they're like, we don't know. The blonde came in and took her, but we don't know where she's gone. And we flash forward, and we then start talking to it's then the next day, and we're talking to Giles in the library. And he breaks down here the basic idea of the show itself, that the world, as much as everyone thinks started off as a paradise, didn't. That it was originally controlled by really evil demonic beings that were like pure evil incarnate. But over time, their bloodline became diluted because they started to interact with humans. And then they became so weak that humans managed to basically banish them from the world, and then all that's left are basically half-breed demons, they call them, which are kind of like your vampires and any standard demonic beings that turn up in the show. That gives you the basic premise of it all, and he says that the evil wants to one day wipe out mankind, so the balance will be tipped, so mankind will be less and demons will be more, and the demons can return to the world in their purest form. And it's like, cool, that's a really cool setup. The rest of the episode plays out where they're worried where Jesse is. They manage to find Jesse, and but it turns out he's a vampire and he's ready to kill them. They manage to escape, and then they find out that tonight is special, that there is a special event where the master of all vampires, who is currently trapped underground, was a ritual he tried to perform eons ago, he's able to do it. He's able to give his power to another vampire, creating like a two-way conduit between them, and for every human that vampire kills, the master gains the power and will hopefully be able to break out and plunder the world and eat everyone. Ha 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 ha, evilness. So Buffy's like, well, I've got to stop this. Where is it going to happen? And they're like, well, they need lots of people to eat. The bronze, because nightclubs. Yeah, alright, cool. And yeah, so Buffy manages to get there, and she rescues the people who are trapped in the club, and then dispatches of Jesse. Well, Xander kills Jesse, which, oh, sad for him, his best friend. Willow rescues Giles by throwing holy water over another vampire, and she runs off screaming like, "Ah!" And Buffy manages to defeat Luke, ending his life, stopping the Master from being able to come out of his prison, and yay, they saved the day. We then get flashed to the next morning. I'm only kind of recapping the episode here, because I don't want to talk about too much. I'll give you an overall gist of the plot. I would want these videos, guys, to sort of get you guys to go and watch Buffy, because mwah, love it, cheesy, but fun. And then next morning, and they're all like, yay, we saved the day, and we find out the way that this show is going to deal with if normal people see vampires is to basically say that people believe what they want to believe, and they think that it was just some people on drugs. That's what they'll believe, just people on drugs with weird looking faces. And that's how the show will get away with people being there when Buffy does stuff, but then not questioning it, because I didn't see anything. And that's the first episode. That's the second episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer: The Harvest. Now the other 4 episodes, I'm not going to go nearly as much detail with them. There's not that much that's significant in each of them, but obviously you got to watch it for the whole point of the show. Next episode is The Witch, and in The Witch we are delved into something important, which is not only are vampires and demons alive and superhero vampire slayers, but also witches exist. And the episode focuses on a high schooler who everyone assumes is hurting all the cheerleaders so she can eventually become top cheerleader. But it actually finds out that the student was actually being possessed by her mum, and it was her mum that was the witch. And yeah, this episode mainly, it just gives you the idea that, yeah, witches exist and magic spells, and Giles can do magic spells, and all of that cool stuff. And that's second episode of The Witch. Now the third one, Teacher's Pet. Through the first 2 episodes and the third, you got this subtle hint that, well, not so subtle hint, that Xander really fancies Buffy. And in this episode, it's like, oh, he's got a cool bracelet, and he wants to give it to Buffy, and he wants to ask her out. She basically is like, no, not interested. She kind of got the hearts for Angel, and it kind of upsets him. But then a new teacher comes into the school, and she instantly seems to be attracted to Xander and this other cool kid. The episode plays out. We find out that the teacher herself is actually some demonic bug. And it basically, she needs humans to help her mate so she can then produce more of her offsprings. And yeah, Xander is one of them. They manage to rescue Xander and the other kid that she was interested in. They hack the insect teacher to bits, save the day, yay. And that was our episode 4. Episode 5, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. This episode mainly just kind of, it's more of an emotional episode more than a bigger threat episode. But there is kind of something in this episode that connects with the bigger story of this first season. We found out in this episode that Buffy, she dispatches of a vampire almost instantly in the episode, but she finds a ring. Giles was there as well. It seemed to be like a mini training session. And then the next morning they go to the library and Giles does some research. Between him and Buffy, they find out that this vampire was part of a sect in which they are meant to bring about the Anointed One, which is something that the Master needs in order to become an ultimate weapon to defeat the Slayer. And throughout the episode they try and figure out where this Anointed One is going to come from and try and stop it. At the same time, we focus on Buffy being a high schooler, and she's flirting with, well, she's not really flirting, she's saying that she likes this boy, but this boy also likes her, and it's really nice. It's one of the few times in the show that someone approaches Buffy who is completely normal human being, and is interested in her. And she tries to go on dates, but slaying gets in the way. You've seen the kind of TV shows where this happens. and he keeps trying, but Slayer keeps getting in the way. Eventually they go on a date, but it turns out they go to a mausoleum. Not mausoleum, it's crematorium. And vampires there, and it turns out that the Anointed One could potentially be there. And he's like, uh-oh, because earlier in the episode there was a bus that was attacked by a bunch of vampires, and the prophecy that the Anointed One has is that 5 will fall, and through their deaths 1 will rise, something like that. And then there's a bus with 5 deaths, and they're like, okay, wherever these corpses are, this is where the Anointed One's going to be. And one of the 5 innocents that were killed was this really heavy religious nut who's super beefy, and he wears camo trousers, and he's like, aha, I am super powerful and I am a vampire, because they find him. And they're like, well, this is the Anointed One, right, we can get rid of him. Buffy fights him, Buffy kills him, and then the next day they go, yay, we go to school, but she thinks that because the boy who's interested in her got hurt, that he's not going to be interested in her anymore. She's like, she's kind of bummed out. He comes to her at school and is like, hey, when do you want to do that again? And she's like, what? Yeah, why don't we go do that again? Why don't we go and fight next time? And she's like, oh, this isn't going to work. And this is one of the few times Buffy kind of like dismisses her emotions in order to take on the bigger purpose of her being a Slayer, protecting the innocents. She's realised that, yeah, he's now an adrenaline junkie who wants to date her to constantly get into danger. And she's like, no, can't do that. No. So he's walked off all bummed. She's really bummed out. She had to say no to him. And yay, all is awesome. The Anointed One is dead. Except we flash down, as they do whenever they go to a scene with the Master, and he's there and he's saying the prophecy, and it's like, okay, what's happened? And then he sits there, and there's a boy. The boy that was on the bus among the 5 that were killed, and he calls him the Anointed One. The Master kind of won the episode, and it's like, damn, that's not good. I wonder how that's going to play out for the rest of this. Uh-oh. Then we get to our final episode, which is a filler, but at the same time, we get a character death, kinda. But not a main character, so don't worry. This episode is called The Pack. And this episode opens up when they're all at a zoo, when they're all having a nice school day out at the zoo. And Buffy's like, I don't like this isn't very fun. But Willow and Xander are like, hey, we're not in school, we're not doing schoolwork, this is fun. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is cool. And they go over and they see in the distance there's these 4 bullies that are basically picking on this kid. And they're like, hey, come on dudes, like, what are you doing? And they all run off. No, they don't actually interact. No, the head teacher that does. He tells them, look, quit doing this. You need to stop. You're already walking a thin line here. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing anything, are we? And the kid they're bullying like, no, it's fine. They're all cool. And then the headmaster's like, oh, okay, walks off. And then they're like, well, that was really cool of you. Like, dude, that was so cool. You didn't get us in trouble. Come on, let's go hang out. There's this cool hyena expedition. Exhibit, that's the word. It's like, cool, yeah, why not? So they go, but they're bullies, and they bully him and threaten to pull him into the hyena pit, and it's like, guys, look, stop. He manages to run off, and they're looking in the hyena pit, and the hyena pops its head out, its eyes glow. Xander's rushed in to try and help this kid, and he's like, guys, come on. Runs over to see what they're looking at. He gets caught as well, as all the bullies and Xander's eyes glow yellow just like a hyena. And it's like, uh-oh, what's happened? And then most of the episode then plays out, and we find out that the threat of the episode is that the hyena was possessed, or some sort of magical ritual happened in which its soul transferred into the kids, into the 4 bullies and Xander, and it's basically transforming them into hyenas in human bodies. And if they don't sort it out quick, they're all going to stay like this forever. And the episode goes throughout, and this is actually one of the few episodes that's quite vicious at times. There's a pig mascot. They all eat it. Why it's still raw. Xander says some really horrible stuff to Willow, and Willow's really hurt in this episode. Because we've already been hints at that Willow kind of likes Xander, and he admits when he's being all nasty, like, yeah, I know, I just don't care. I want Buffy. I want someone who's cool. I don't want a nerd like you. Who would want you? And it's like, oh, Willow, ouch. While he's doing that, Willow manages to knock him out. No, Willow doesn't. Buffy knocks him out because he tries and comes on to Buffy quite strongly. She manages to knock him out with a slay strength, locks him in a cage. While that's happening, the bullies are pulled into the principal's office, and he's like, right, you guys are getting expelled for this. I know you ate the pig, and you're all going to go down for this. And they start acting weird, they're jumping around his desk. He's like, what are you doing? One of them scratches his face and he's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then they lunge on him. Buffy then comes back and he's like, principal's been eaten. Yeah, the bullies actually ate the principal. Eesh. The rest of the episode plays out where Buffy and Giles are trying to get all the kids together so that they can go back to the hyena pen and perform a ritual. They find out that the zookeeper there knows what to do and is going to help them out. They manage to attract all the people there. They're about to perform the ritual, but it turns out the zookeeper is actually the reason why hyena done this to the kids. It was actually a ritual he was trying to perform himself, and the kids got in the way. Knocks out Giles. Luckily, Buffy's there and she prevents it. Everyone gets unpossessed. Everything's fine. Yay, the zookeeper gets pushed into the pit and the hyena eats him. Giles walks out like, oh, whoa, what's happened? And everything is safe. Then flash, as we always do, to the next morning at school, and we get kind of a, so how did that all go kind of thing. And this is a regular thing, is they kind of, the threat happens, usually around night time. Then the next day, Buffy, Willow, Xander and Giles all like grouped somewhere at the school, and they're like, oh, it's a good thing we dealt with that threat. It's a constant thing. There's a very particular formula when it comes to Buffy, and once you see it, it's like, oh yeah, that is a formula. They kind of break it as the season goes on, but for season 1 there's definitely a formula to it. And they're like, oh, so you have no idea whatsoever what you did when you were a hyena, Xander? No, thank God as well, because I ate a pig raw? Ugh. But I didn't eat the principal. No, you weren't there for the principal. Oh, thank God. Buffy and Willow are like, oh, we've got to go to class. They go off to class. Giles turns up there with Xander, and he's like, all my research in my books, I can't seem to find anywhere of amnesia after a possession. And he's like, shoot me, stuff me, wish I was never born. Or something along those lines. And it's like, oh, Xander completely remembers. Oh, sad for him. But it's nice because you feel that even though he was horrible to Willow, Willow and him still reconcile and everything is fine. And him coming on to Buffy, he doesn't remember, so Buffy's nice enough not to bring him up on it. And there are our 5 episodes, guys. Now, we're going to then go into how I feel about each episode. And how important I feel each one is to the overall series plot. Alrighty then. Alright guys, so in this portion of the video we will be discussing how I feel about each episode and whether I think it's important to the overall plot. We'll start with the harvest, which is the most easiest one to talk about. This is a very important episode, not just because it finishes off part 1, but also with Giles' discussion on how the world began, it kind of sets up how this universe works together, and while why demons even bother to fight, and why there's always going to be like a big threat Buffy has to defeat. As far as the episode goes, it's good and strong. You got good scenery. This time we see a cemetery a lot more. And it's nice just to see the way the team works together, because in the first episode the team were kind of working together, but once they're all rescued and they're all deciding how to rescue Jesse, you can kind of see how the team works. You've got Xander, who is the one that plays things a bit light, but he's like the heart of the team. You've got Giles, who's like, ha! Book research. Buffy, who's like, give me something to punch, just give me something to beat up so I can deal with this. And then you got Willow, who is kind of like the proto Giles, but at the same time is our generation's Giles. Where Giles is all about the books, she's all about the computer. And everything we need that isn't in Giles' books is on the computer. Literally, that's how it is. Like, you need to hack into something to find out the latest information for whatever the demon is. Willow's got it. Need schematics on the underground of the whole Sunnydale to figure out where the pipelines go and how the vampires could escape from being seen by Buffy. Willow can hack into a mainframe to find that out. Finding out what a certain ritual could be, and they need information of the history of a certain place. Willow can find that out. Willow is computer ex machina. That kind of how things are. Is Giles can't find it, Willow will find it on her computer. It's nice. You watch the two episodes together, you really do feel that Joss Whedon has this solidness and he knows exactly what he's going to do with this show. The other episodes, which again it's kind of important because it introduces witchcraft into the universe. But apart from introducing witchcraft, you meet the girl who everyone thought was a witch called Amy, who she's kind of in it at times, but at the moment she's not really that important. I think it was more like they're setting up little side characters that potentially become bigger ones later down the line if they need to. Yeah, which it's fun. I didn't like it that much, but it was important for the witchcraft thing. Teacher's Pet, on the other hand, I feel that if you wanted to introduce Xander's emotions and Xander's need to be loved by someone, then yeah, maybe it's important, but again, it's an episode I'm not that fussed on. I like Buffy, I love Buffy to bits. I feel there are some episodes that I could breeze over. If I wasn't doing this review series, I would skip those two very much. Yeah, it doesn't do much for the overall show apart from Xander like, I want to be with Buffy! Oh, Buffy doesn't want to be with me. Oh, there's a teacher! Yay! And it's all about his insecurities, and it kind of develops his insecurities and who Xander is. But you probably could have done that in another episode as well, and not had that one in. Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. When I originally watched these episodes, back when I was watching TV shows the first time, didn't care for it at all. But now I'm more grown up, and now I watch not just the fun action and where the story going, but also character development, and that was good for that, because it helps establish Buffy is willing to put her emotions aside for the great good. Could have been done in another episode, kind of like with the Xander thing, but I guess that if you did it so many times in another episode, you wouldn't have enough focus, so I kind of get it. But the whole Anointed one, this is a plot line that I'm not going to spoil anything for it, but I don't really want to say it. It is important to set up the Anointed storyline. The Anointed storyline itself, I will discuss more later down the line when we talk about it. And then finally, I think it's what? Harvest? Teacher's Pet? No, Harvest, Teacher's Pet, and Kill a Boy. No, you haven't. Pack. This is the episode that I feel mostly about. It's just, apart from killing off the principal, it doesn't do anything really, because yeah, it shows that evil Xander is willing to say things, but in these kind of TV shows, the evil ones always willing to say these things, and unlike TV shows these days, It's not something they then talk about further down the line. Look, this is your true self. Just because you're evil doesn't mean these weren't your emotions. And Buffy does do it further down the line with another character, and especially in the Angel series as well. But when it comes to Xander becoming evil for the episode and causing a threat, doesn't really do anything. He upsets Willow, but by the end they're fine. He attacks Buffy in a very way. Again, doesn't really do anything. They can play off the fact that he remembers it at the end of, he's so embarrassed. But it didn't do anything. Apart from killing the principal, it doesn't really do anything for the series itself. I know I'm being quite negative towards these episodes, but what can I say? Unless they're mainly got vampires in them, then I'm not that fussed. It's really bad. But I love Buffy. I really do. These 5 episodes, if you mass watch them, they're fine. I think if you watch them singularly, there's nothing really to them. But if you watch all of them together, you slowly see the development of the Scooby Gang, as Buffy's group will soon be called once it's complete. So yeah, that's really fun. And then on to the last bit, guys. We're going to talk about Easter eggs and references. Just like in episode 1, I have notes to help me go through this. So we'll have a quick look. Oh yeah. The first one I wrote down when I watched The Harvest was one I was watching out for in episode 1. And then just to clarify, yeah, it's true. The cross that Angel gives Buffy in episode 1 is what saves her in The Harvest episode 2. But if you watch the end of the first episode into the second, the cross is nowhere. What literally appears out of nowhere when she's attacked. It's like, it's not there, and all of a sudden it's all the way up here when she's being attacked. Where'd that come from? Cross Machina saves the day. What else we got? See, unlike the first episode, there wasn't that much really that Easter egg references, and I'm listening to the commentaries, listening to Whedon's like what he's talking about and all the fun things that he says, and it's only really the first 2 he talks about. There isn't really any others. Yeah, there's not really that much Easter egg references wise for the other episodes. But for Harvest, there's a few fun ones. Let's have a look. Oh yeah. There's something you notice in The Harvest, and you'll see less as the series goes on, is the vampires were very scary in the first 2 episodes. Like, they were big, massive threats, super scary. And there's a bit where they're trying to rescue Jesse in the tunnels, and you can just see the vampire's eyes and they're growling. And it's like, ah! But as the episodes go on, they become more of a laugh. And it's kind of Whedon's thing, is he doesn't like keeping villains villainy. They tend to then start wisecracking and saying lines and becoming a bit funnier. But you can kind of like them. It's a trope Whedon has. He makes almost all of his villains likable. If you watch Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, you know that, yeah, he makes Loki very likable. He makes Ultron very likable. It's kind of a thing he does. And something he discussed, which I thought was quite interesting, is when it comes to the powers that vampires have, initially he wanted them to be able to fly. But because of the studio's restrictions and everything, he couldn't. And he says that, yeah, whatever vampires' powers or demonic powers they have, usually it's their downsides because of restrictions of budget and special effects. And it's like, oh, okay. I thought maybe you weren't going to go for the typical old school vampires can fly through your window sort of thing. But yeah, it's something he decided he wanted to do, but then couldn't. Another fun thing is there's a part in it, again in The Harvest, where a rat crawls over Buffy's foot, and he jokingly says, like, that rat is the best actor in the entire show. He knows exactly what to do with his lines, he's never late, he's always on cue. It's like, It's nothing big, but this is fun because Whedon is just watching this through and it's his baby, his masterpiece of this show, and he's still able to be like, yeah, that rat, best thing the show ever has. Yeah. The graveyard that we see in episode 1 and in episode 2, The Harvest, is a real graveyard. They actually went to Los Angeles and filmed in an actual graveyard. But he says as the series went on, because it was easier, they actually built a set that became the graveyard. It's the same as the bronze being in the warehouse. The graveyard is kind of in the same place. They just made it easier, and also as the series goes on, they use a graveyard less and less because they don't want to be using a fake graveyard so much. Even though I talked about how the computer is the ex machina of the show and it helps everything, it helps find out every bit of information, the only reason I really picked up on it is because during the commentary, Whedon himself does turn around and say, yeah, whenever we need to discuss something and we don't want Giles to suddenly get it in a book, we'll make the computer do it. Yeah, the computer does it. Being able to hack into this, even though that's not really possible, don't worry, the computer does it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fun because he's willing to admit, like, yeah, I know there are things that are a bit silly and cheesy, but what are you gonna do? Oh yeah, there's a fun word that he said behind the scenes. It's not something the show itself ever uses, but it's flabutum. Flabut. I was saying it. Flablutinum. Really hard to say. And what it is whenever the cast needed to discuss what the symbol or thing that Buffy must destroy in order to stop the demon or the ritual or whatever, that's what the flabutnum would be. It would be the thing that Buffy must stop or destroy. And it's like, fun. And on a final note, just a little character thing when it comes to Giles. It's something I will discuss later down the line when it's more relevant. But yeah, in the second episode, when they're having discussions about stuff, Giles is all giddy and they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, it's exciting, like knowing what the new threat and what the mystery is out there. And it's like, that's not a good thing. You shouldn't have like your mentor character be all like, yeah, let's go find the evil thing because I want to learn more stuff. Yeah. And that's Easter eggs and references, guys. Sorry there's not as much as there was in the first episode. Whedon's a little more quiet in the second episode commentary. And as I say, there's no commentary in the rest of the episodes. The only little Easter egg I can come up with is there's kind of two in the in Harvest that I'll pull up later down the line. But essentially the whole discussion Giles has about how evil wants to tip the scales of humans and demons in the world. That's cool because that actually gets brought up way later down the line. And also in the second episode, after they've done the harvest and they're having the hoo-ha, yay, we won the day. Buffy, Xander and Willow start walking off in the distance having a general school day discussion. And the camera pans to Giles and he's like, well, please do. Which again, is fun because that line itself is then referenced again further down the line. Almost the exact same line. Really quite fun the way that Whedon's like, yeah, callbacks. That's all there really is, guys, for these episodes. Next episode we will be tackling episodes 7 through 11, which is the second half of the season, and then one more episode after that where we'll be discussing the pilot. And then that will be season 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer complete. Hope you have enjoyed this episode, guys. I'm really thoroughly enjoying this. We're only 2 episodes in, but I can already tell I'm going to be enjoying this very much. And if you can, guys, please go out there and watch Buffy. It'll be so much more fun for me to kind of give you my opinions. if you've watched the episode yourself, and I can be like, yeah, there's this little thing and there's that little thing. If you would prefer for me to do less episodes and more breakdowns, let me know in the comments. At the moment, I'm doing these 5 episodes clumped together and not breaking them down as much. If you preferred it the way that the pilot episode was done, I will probably do that after season 1 is complete if you want. I can do it where I can break down single episodes or maybe 2 episodes a piece. But if I do that, this video series will be a lot longer. But if that's what you guys want, I'm willing to do that. Possibly going to be a theory next week, as well as one of these videos, depending on how things go. And as always, guys, if you would, please leave a like, comment, tell me what you think, whether you want the structure like episode 1, or for the anything but the pilot and the finale, you don't mind having the 5 episode structure, please let me know. If you've got a favourite episode because you've already watched Buffy and you wanted to have a discussion, I will have that discussion with you guys in the comments. I really will. And as always, guys, if you would, subscribe. And if you have already, bring a friend and have them subscribe too. Until next video, guys, I'll catch you all later. Bye!